All right. Well, welcome back to Mind Body Relationship, where we talk about the mind, the body, and the relationship. I'm Dr. Laurie Ponsford Hill, and today we have a special guest, Tricia.
Hello.
Back with us. Yes. And Tricia, when you were introducing yourself, you were saying about how it is that you are a part of a blended family.
Yes, I am.
Ooh. And how did that come about?
Slowly. slowly. So before living in sort of a blended family, my partner and I were together for a while before we even had our kids meet each other.
Oh.
So they were aware, but we just didn't blend them in any sort of social functions right away. We talked about it, we were open about it, and then we sort of set a date when we thought it was an appropriate time period to be like, let's go have a fun family event together. So we did like dinner and bowling or something along those lines. So we had a few hour stretch together in a way to have fun and
wow,
that sort of thing. And it was good. It went well. And then we continued to do little events like that now and again, like a movie together, that sort of thing. The kids are all similar ages, but there's 3 girls and 1 boy. And
oh, wow.
The boy is 14. So it's a little bit different for him, I'd say. Whereas the 3 girls are 2 are the same age, born in the same year, but 1 at the beginning, 1 at the end. So they're pretty similar in age. And then the other one's 2 years older. But those 3 are like 3 peas in a pod all the time when they're together. So the 14-year-old boy probably quite happily stays out of that for the most part. But he's really wonderful about getting involved and playing with them. If we're doing something like swimming or on the trampoline, I mean, he's still a kid in many ways in essence and can do that stuff with them. But
transitions, eh?
Transitions. So it was a good long while before we actually decided to move in together. And we had a few sort of things that we did along the way. My partner already owned his house.
Okay.
So it's quite a small space. So we had to do a renovation. So
a test.
A test for sure. So we leading up to the reno was really fun because we had to take down some walls. So we got a bunch of big Sharpies and we got all the kids to draw all over the walls, and we just whatever they wanted to write, quotes and pictures and all sorts of things like that. And then the week before the reno, we hammered the walls down together as a group.
Wow.
Which was really fun. We sort of involved them in the process of all of this and really prepared them for what was to come. We kept communication really open and allowed our kids to express what it is they were feeling, because it's a really big adjustment.
Oh, I bet.
And it has been, and I think it will be ongoing. We're all growing and changing. We're at different developmental ages. There's individual struggles with that. You're kind of, in essence, living with strangers a little bit for a while, because it's one thing to see them in a social experience and it's another thing to actually live with people.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I always say, to enter into an already made family, it takes a very special person.
Yeah.
Right? And so your partner had an already made family, you had an already made family, and then these 2 arenas come together to create a family.
Yeah.
Right? Only it doesn't discount these 2.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right? So you've got sort of like 3 kind of circuses going on all at the same time.
Absolutely. And within it, we do find it's really important to juggle all of the relationships. So there's me and my partner, and him and his kids, and me and mine, and me and his kids, and his and mine, and me with each of my children individually.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So there's a lot of relationships to juggle and really make sure that we prioritize including all of them. And we drop the ball sometimes, right? Especially spending time with each individual child without the other one. So that's really tough.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a slow process. And we really have to take the lead of each child and how, like, everyone's sort of coping a little bit differently. Some are more open and some are more closed, and that's okay. It's just gauging where they're at and letting them lead the pace. So say going out one-on-one for lunch with one of my partner's children's, maybe not ready yet, and that's okay. And, we spend more time in groups and have family meetings and family movies and family events and that sort of thing. So we've actually, we wanted to come up with a name for our family because family didn't seem, the sort of family of origin feels more comfortable for them. They're like, for the kids, well, they're not really my family, so what are they? But we are a family unit, which is what we came up with. Which is family unit. And then the 14-year-old boy lovingly and kind of mistakenly made it an acronym, so now we're the FU, which is amazingly, we love it so much. It's really good.
That's funny.
Gives the kids permission to be like, we're having an FU meeting or whatever. So my FU, it's fantastic. So it's given it a little bit of levity and humor, and we use that a lot in our coping because we have to.
Good. Yeah.
So that's been fun. Just sort of putting a little label on it that makes sense, but that isn't like we aren't, pretending to be something we're not. We're all figuring it out, and sometimes it feels awkward and weird, and that's okay. And that's not just for the kids, it can be for us as the adults too. And it's really a work in progress, and there's no right or wrong answers. We just have to do what works for all of us as a group.
Well, and not only do you have these three that are going on, you also have an extension as well, I would imagine, for each, because then there would be access.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, we have equal shared custody with our partners. So we can go from a house of 6 in a small space, which is another managing thing, right?
To
manage small space. So family of 6 to family of 4 to family of 2.
Wow.
Within any given week. So for a time, our children were on the same schedule.
Right.
And then my partner's children recently sort of switched it about a bit. So they have longer periods and less sort of little back and forths. But my kids being a little bit younger and me being mom, they don't want to do that. They don't want longer stretches away from really either parent, and that's totally fine with me. We're again taking their lead. So my partner's kids came to him and said, the little bits of back and forth we do are a bit more stressful. Can we change that? And we want to just be accommodating as we can within reason, because kids don't get to make these decisions, the parents do. So
right.
And then we have to be in great communication with our ex-partners.
Exactly.
Which can be challenging at times, right? There's a reason we're not together, and yet we have to communicate almost more effectively post breakup, right? We have to be really on the same page. And if you just keep it about the kids, then it's almost a no-brainer what is best for them in this moment. And that's one thing, even with exes, that they can always agree on is putting the kids first. So that's sort of the policy that what is best for each of these kids in this moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people struggle, as it is that they're thinking about ending their current relationship, especially when it is that they do have children, of how it is it's going to affect the children.
Absolutely.
Right? And and just like what you're saying in regards to that communication, the truth is that when people actually really separate, that's when it is that there's the most minimal amount of conflict. Because as it is that you add in other people on both sides, right? It increases all of that need for communicating.
Absolutely.
And can also increase the conflict.
It can, absolutely. And if there's still hurt and pain in anyone, then it makes that so much more difficult.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So do you have any words of wisdom for people perhaps that are watching, that are in that place, that are contemplating, perhaps separation or really, afraid of how it is it's going to impact the kids?
Yeah, I mean, a solid nuclear traditional family, of course, is what we all imagine for our kids. So in terms of wisdom of separation, it's one of the hardest things I've ever done. A lot of guilt comes with that, of what what you thought you'd give your kids, what you thought you'd have for your own life. There's a lot of pain and hurt that comes along, and a lot of grieving, that comes along with that. And even though it was my choice to end my marriage, there was a lot of grief there. So I think allow yourself allow yourself that emotion, and have patience, self-compassion with yourself, and with the kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes there's just no easy answers, is there?
No. There's no right or wrong. There's no easy. Yeah. And I did a lot of work with a counselor leading up to my separation, and throughout, my new partner and I did a lot of counseling around blending our family. We saw a parenting coach, we saw a counselor, just to address the developmental needs of our kids. We really wanted the support of somebody else professionally, so that we could extend that same sort of support to our children.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we found that really valuable and really important, because we're struggling with our own thoughts and feelings about things. We want to make sure we're really present for our kids. And there's lots of little practical things too, like different parenting styles, and how do we deal with different challenges of teenagers or tweens, and I don't love the word discipline, but disciplinary styles, like how do we deal with, pushback from kids, and what's our methodology, and that there could be strong or conflicting emotions from any one of the family members, and again, patience and understanding and acceptance. I think the biggest thing is understanding. Where is that individual coming from? That child who's 10 or that child who's 14, where are they coming from right now? What is this like for them? That empathetic understanding. I'm going to put myself in their shoes and be like, wow, this must be really weird for them, and really strange, and maybe really hard, and maybe really not something they want, that they feel forced into, and so really just understanding where they're coming from, I think, and having so much patience. Yeah, just patience, right? And no expectations. Like, this is going to be a long journey. There's a lot of little practical things. How we schedule. We have an enormous whiteboard, and we know where everyone is and what everyone's doing, and all those sort of practical pieces of a blended family, and chores and responsibilities, and just general family rules that we talk about, which is really just surrounding kindness and respect. And we say good morning in the morning, and we say good night or goodbye when you're going off to moms or dads, and that sort of thing. So.
Well, and so true, right? Because every household has its own rules.
Yep.
Right? And so the difference being that when it is, an intact family, one set of rules.
Yes.
However, if it's not, and then there's another, set of rules.
Absolutely.
Right? And that going back and forth, and then reestablishing, right, that normalcy within those set of rules.
Absolutely. And we certainly find each of the children struggle with that a little bit.
I bet.
They've verbalized it with us. And we just know our ex-partners, and we know how they parent, and we know sort of the structure that they have in their house is different than the structure we have in ours, and that's a big adjustment. And we see it in our kids emotionally when they return.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we see it, like, for the first 24 hours or so, they're a little off. And that was a bit of a shock, when I first left my partner and they started going back and forth, that they'd come home to me and almost be a little bit resistant and push back, and I was like, what's happening? And then I realized, this is just difficult for them,
right?
And it's not about anything other than this is hard, and I just allow them their space, and they know they still have to be respectful, but they can go they can go to their room, they can do whatever they need to do to retransition back into this space.
Realignment. Right?
Realignment, absolutely. Yeah. And again, there's that word patience. We have to come back to understanding where are they coming from right now, and just having lots of love and patience for them. And it's okay. I understand this is hard for you. Yeah. I'm here when you're ready.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, I could talk about not protecting your own children
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a whole other, that's a whole other thing that comes naturally, right?
Well,
to be
it's
like yours
it's true.
versus mine when there's conflict.
Well, and it's always about alliances, right? Who is aligned with whom?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, those alliances are really, really important.
Yeah.
And the difficulty is that the parents need to be aligned.
Yes.
Right? And that alliance actually really dictates how things are going to go in the family system.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And if, a parent is aligning with a child, even in an intact family system, right, that is an issue.
Yeah.
Right? So
absolutely. Yeah. My partner and I really have to be excellent communicators with each other about our own thoughts and feelings and what's happening inside and how we're feeling, not necessarily of what is happening realistically, but I'm feeling this way about this relationship for the kids. And with 3 little girls especially, there can be a lot of sort of triangulation, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. And
we've all had a discussion and you're out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, and it depends on personalities. My partner and I have different personalities. He's really stoic. He's pretty non-emotional. Mm-hmm. He's very analytical. And while I can be very analytical, I'm really sensitive. So I can and when it comes to my kids, I can be very mama bearish.
Yeah. There you go. Eh?
Yes,
exactly.
So realizing my own tendency to do that and to want to maybe rescue my youngest, who is maybe more likely to get frustrated and walk away if she perceives being left out, whether or not that's a reality. And so it's more about giving our kids the tools. And that's even... what can I do to give them the tools to help them with their transitions back and forth? What are appropriate ways they can adjust? What tools can I give them? You need to communicate. And that's been a really big one. They have to learn how to communicate. Yeah. And my 2 are personally really more on the sensitive, emotional side as well. And will just shut down before they'll push back. Yeah. And my partner's daughter's really strong. Right? She's a really strong personality, a real leader. She likes a leadership role. And neither of my kids really care to have that role. So there's a dynamic. But now it's been, a year since we've been in the house together. And we've watched things shift and wax and wane and move and and just sort of bearing witness to that and acknowledging where they're at. And we try not to intervene very much, other than, again, to address and give them the tools to navigate the relationship themselves. It's really the best gift we can give them, is having their own tools to move through life.
All right. Well, thank you, Tricia, for coming and talking to us about blended family and discussing your own experience with blended family. And if you are in the throes of becoming a blended family, or you're in a blended family, we'll be hosting retreats in regards to blended families. And so if you're interested in that, please reach out. Send us an email. And if you like this video, give it a like. And please subscribe. All right. Thank you so much. And bye for now.
Bye.